Spring is in the air, which means now is the time to save during spring outdoor power deals at the Home Depot. Make cleanup easier when you go cordless with the Milwaukee M18 string trimmer, designed to deliver more runtime, more speed, and maximum performance. Then grab a select Milwaukee fuel attachment, like the pole saw, edger, or brush cutter, included at no extra cost when you buy the Milwaukee M18 string trimmer. Shop 7 days of spring outdoor power deals at the Home Depot, now through April 29th.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Cole Bagley's joining us, hockey insider, Mammoth insider for all things NHL for KSLSports.com. Cole, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. I was there catching the game. That was an incredible atmosphere. Is it everything that you envision playoff hockey in Utah to be?
Yeah, but the crazy thing is I think there's even another level to it, right? I mean, the longer that this series goes and, the further that Utah gets into the playoffs, I think that crowd is just going to continue to lift their energy levels, their intensity and their love for that team. So, yeah, I would say it was everything and more that I could have ever anticipated and expected. And, I would probably rank it probably in the top 5 of, events, in terms of energy ever held at Delta Center, at least in terms of sports. I mean, it was just an unreal atmosphere, and, the team definitely appreciated it and were able to kind of, they were fueled by just the passion of the fans. So tonight in Game 4, I expect the same thing, and we'll see how the boys are able to respond.
Veggie handled a major workload the other night, 31 shots, and I was just looking at NHL Edge. It says that this series has been played 45% of the time, regardless of strengths, in the offensive zone of the Knights. How important and just how big has Veggie been so far this series?
Yeah, I mean, the key to a deep playoff run in the National Hockey League is that usually, I mean, there's a lot of factors, but generally the biggest one is who has the hot goaltender, who has the best goaltender, which guys can steal games for their team most often. And, right now I'd say that Vejmelka has done that for the Mammoth. It's interesting. I mean, I would say that Carter Hart overall is the better goalie, but in this series, Vejmelka has, put forth the better performances, and I think he's got more help from his defensemen. The biggest thing for Vejmelka in Game 3 that helped him to, stop as many shots as he did, especially facing as many shots as he did, I think was just the attention to details. He just played a very simplified, pure game. He tracked the puck phenomenally well. He was quick to act on rebounds, and there was a couple plays in particular where the puck went in behind the net. Vegas was able to get a hold of it, and each time Vejmelka was so quick to track where that is, and that's not easy. It's not as easy as you think it is when you've got all that gear on, you've got your mask on, and you're trying to play the front of the net while also trying to pay attention to what's going behind. But he found those pucks, and he quickly stacked his pads up on both posts to avoid any potential wraparound attempts or quick shots in front. So I mean, Vejmelka to me has played right at the level that he needs to give his team a chance to win every night. I did a deep analytical dive on both goalies going into this series, and I said that Vejmelka would need to probably be less than 3 goals against per game and right around 900 save percentage, and that's exactly where he's been through the first 3. And then he's put Utah in a position to win hockey games, and that's why they're up 2-1.
All right, so just explain to me, like I'm 5, I guess, but explain to me just how rare that win was for Utah, giving the statistical discrepancies. So if I were to give you that stat sheet from that game and I didn't have the score on it, and you hadn't watched any of the game, would you have said that was a Vegas win?
Yeah, I mean, I would have expected a 5-1, 5-0 win in favor of the Knights.
Yeah.
You are not going to win hockey games in the playoffs with only 12 shots on goal. It's just not going to happen. Of course, it did, but it's not going to happen again. And as I went back and kind of rewatched the game, and I was able to chat with some of the veterans on Utah's roster over the last couple of days, just trying to make sense of it, because that's something that I've never seen before. I mean, if you were to tell anybody, any analyst, any reporter that, again, kind of to your point, don't tell them the score. But if you said, hey, you know what, Vegas had 32 shots on goal and Utah had 12, and they only had one in the third period, I'd argue that 100% of those people would expect Vegas to have just absolutely dominated Utah. And so as I tried to make sense of it and try to figure out what happened, playoff hockey it's the same game, but it's very different. And it's defined by small moments. It's defined by momentum swings. And a lot of the times, the better team doesn't always win the game. And I think this was certainly an extreme, but, when you boil it down, I think what has helped Utah to get out to a 2-1 series lead is they've won the chess match so far, and I think they've won the game within the game. If going back and watching, and again, talking to some of those veterans, once Utah was up 4-0, I think the mindset kind of changed to, they kept their foot on the gas, but they were very careful in, how they approached certain plays, certain zone entries, certain passes. Instead of trying to make, those desperate type plays that maybe only have a 20 or 30% chance of happening, they stuck to the more simplified plays, the plays that they knew would not end up costing them or generating, rushes to the other direction for Vegas. And so, I think that might explain the shot discrepancy to a certain extent. Is Utah made the most of their chances. They got out to a 4-0 lead relatively quick, and from there it was just kind of play their opponent the way that they need to, manage the clock, and don't put yourself in any situations that are going to get you burned.
Jack Eichel scored 90 points this year, and in 3 games just has 3 points. What are the Mammoth doing so well to take away what he does best?
They're playing physically, and that has been an emphasis since the series started. Is when you're facing really top tier players, especially offensive players, you got to let them feel you. From the moment they enter the zone to when they're battling in front of the net, or they're trying to retrieve pucks, in the corners, what have you. They have to know that you're there, and you have to intimidate them in that factor. And I tried to pay kind of special close attention to Jack Eichel in Game 3, and there were multiple instances where Eichel was hit 3 or 4 times within about 5, 6, 7 seconds upon entering the zone. There was one in particular where he was hit 4 times in 6 seconds. He came into the zone. He was hit by Lawson Krause. He dumped the puck in. He was hit by Mackenzie Weegar. He retrieved the puck. He was hit by Lawson Krause. And then as he tried to go to the net, Weegar kind of gave him another shove. That's exactly how you have to play those types of guys. Is they're dangerous, and if you give them time and space, they'll punish you. But if you kind of throw them off their game, if you're hitting them and you're letting them know and it's kind of asserting your will upon them, I think it's going to it obviously impacts their ability to produce. And I would say that kind of the same thing has happened to Clayton Keller a bit. And I think I would say that Game 3 was his best game of the series. But Vegas has been overly physical, and there has not been a lot of time and space for him to operate. And so he's had to adjust. I think he did a good job of that in Game 3. And as for Eichel, I just don't know that he's quite figured out, how to handle the way that Utah's playing him.
When you look at, Vegas came in, the power play was such a strength for them, and they got an early one in the beginning of Game 2. Since then, I think Utah shut them out. In fact, they were 0 for 4 on power plays against Utah in Game number 3. What has Utah done? Is it just execution? Have they altered what they've done? Because Vegas got a couple of good looks in Game 3, but for the most part, Utah really kept them out of rhythm.
Yeah, I think it comes down to 2 things, and this is kind of generally speaking in terms of not only 5-on-5, not only 5-on-4 or 5-on-3, but 5-on-5 as well. I think Utah has done a phenomenal job at denying the middle of the ice. Vegas is a team that likes to play that East-West game. They like to, possess the puck. They're very heavy on the puck, meaning that, it's tough to get zone clearances. It's tough to, win those battles. And, so that's helped them to generate extended ozone time. But when it comes down to it, Utah has done a great job of, getting their sticks in the middle of the ice, breaking up passes, winning the majority of the battles in close to the net, making sure that they're staying above, those forwards and, taking away opportunities and what have you. And I think the other thing, too, is not that Utah has changed their approach in terms of the penalty kill, but I think that they've kind of raised their game in terms of putting their bodies on the line. They've blocked a ton of shots in this series. They've blocked a lot of shots on the power play. And it's not just simply jumping in front of, pucks as you normally would, but it's laying out. I mean, there was one play in particular, I think in the third period, I want to say it was the last power play for the Golden Knights, where Alexander Kerfoot, completely laid out, threw his stick out, extended it as far as it could. The puck gets blocked, and it actually exits the zone. And Utah has been able to get a good change, and then eventually they killed it. So, for Utah, just keep doing that. Keep winning those battles in close to the net. Keep denying the middle of the ice, and make those extra plays that you're going to have to sacrifice your body. That's just playoff hockey. If you want to win games, you're going to get to the end of the season and have a lot of bumps and bruises and what have you, but those are going to translate to victories.
Dylan Guenther with a couple of really loud goals in the series. Do you anticipate that he will have less space to operate after a couple of goals like that?
Yeah, I've talked to him about it, and I think the key for Guenther in remaining effective is to just do what he did all season. I mean, this is a 40 goal scorer. This is a guy that finished top 10 in goals for the entire season, and the way that he was able to do that was by diversifying his skill set, by not just being a one-trick pony, not being just a guy who's going to take one-timers from the left side, but getting into the dirty areas, going to the net, crashing the net. I mean, he helped generate a scoring chance in game 2 that eventually ended up being the game winner because he generated, he flew up the left side off the rush. He was fearless. He went right to the net. He put a dangerous puck on goal, and Klue was able to finish it. That's what he needs to continue to do, because what it forces the defense to do is respect you on all areas of the ice. They can't just you don't want to become one-dimensional. And I think that's what Guenther kind of started to face last season was, teams started to recognize, okay, there's this kid, number 11, he's got a wicked one-timer, and he is going to shoot that constantly. So they could kind of start to anticipate it, where he's taken his offensive game and his production to the next level, and it makes it so much harder because you don't know what he's going to do. You don't know if he is going to take the one-timer or if he's going to take the puck and go right at the net. And I think it, forces the defense to respect him in a bunch of different ways. And it's just, he is, in my mind, he's got probably a top 3 release in the National Hockey League, but then the fact that he's willing to, to put his body on the line, to go into the dirty areas, to take hits and, make dangerous plays is what has helped him to be effective. And right now, I don't know that Vegas really has an answer for him.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on Carvana. Delivery fees may apply.
So are you glass half full, as in Utah did not play particularly well and still won game 3, or glass half empty? If you play like that again, you're going to lose, and that is not replicable going into game 4.
Yeah. Can I be somewhere in the middle?
Sure.
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
That checks, yes.
I think, like I was talking about earlier, the playoffs are just a different beast. And there are countless series over the years where, the team that was better on paper and produced more shots and had more dangerous chances didn't end up winning. That's just the way that it goes. It's not necessarily, if you put 40 shots on goal as opposed to 15 or 20 that you're going to win the game. Now it obviously helps, increase those chances. So for Utah, I think they just need to yes, they need to increase the number of shots that they had on goal. I do not see them putting up 12 tonight and taking a 3-1 series lead. That's just not going to happen. But what they need to do is to continue to play the chess match. The playoffs, especially, the Stanley Cup playoffs, are all about adjustments, not just adjustments game to game, but adjustments period to period and shift to shift. And I think so far that's what's helped Utah. I mean, if you want to be fully glass, completely glass half full type, you break this down. Utah was 1 third period away from being up in this series 3-0.
Yeah.
Right? Like if that third period in game 1 doesn't go south, they're up 3-0 and they could sweep Vegas at this point. So there are some things that they need to fix, but I think overall they don't ask how, they just ask how many. And right now Utah's up 2-1 with an opportunity to go up 3-1, and I think if they just continue, like I said, to win the chess match, to make proper adjustments in game, and to continue to assert themselves and play their style, I think they're going to put themselves in a good chance to go up 3-1.
How big has Krause been? I know he was a star of the game the other night, but it seems like he's controlling a lot of things out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain players in the National Hockey League that their games just translate so much better to the postseason. I think if you look at a guy who was the playoff MVP a year ago, and Sam Bennett, he's a good regular season player, but he is an elite playoff type player. And I think somewhat of the same can be said about Lawson Krause. He's a very good regular season player, but he's not a guy that's going to put up more than 50 points. He's not a 50, 60, 70 point guy. But when it comes to the playoffs, the game just kind of changes. It prioritizes physicality. It prioritizes being able to take and deliver hits, and to go into I talk about the dirty areas a lot, but to go into the corners to retrieve pucks and to assert yourself in a physical manner. And that is Lawson Krause to a T, right? He is winning a lot of battles in front of the net. He's delivering a lot of hits. He's helping generate turnovers, and then he's scored some really big goals. So for a guy like that, his leadership is shining through, and his impact has just been huge for this team. And I think that just speaks to just the overall depth and just how well constructed this roster is to potentially beat this Vegas team.
So it appears that just based on who's on the ice for practice, Jack McBain probably isn't close, but is there a chance we see Barrett Hayton tonight?
That's a good question. And I feel like I'm dealing with Kyle Whittingham in some ways in terms of injuries with Andre Tourny, because he's just locked it down. He said that he's not going to talk about injuries. And I think that is particularly advantageous at this point of the year. Vegas has not done that. They've been pretty forthcoming in who their starting goaltender is going to be every game, and who's going to be on the ice for them. They've skated their lines pretty much every single day, whereas Utah, it's been a question mark every night. And I think that Tourny likes that. I think that he's the type of guy that wants to take every single advantage that he can, because he realizes that Utah is an underdog, and so if there's certain things that he can put in his favor, he's going to do that. So, it's hard to judge at this time of the year whether or not a player is going to be back. During the regular season, they're a lot more forthcoming about where the guy's progressing, if he's day to day, if he's week to week. And then, of course, if you just kind of pay attention to what's going on, once a player takes off that non-contact sweater and starts skating lines, that's a pretty good indication that he's coming back. Well, Utah hasn't really been skating lines. There's been a lot of maintenance days. There's been a lot of optional days. And so right now it's tough to say how close he is, but he has skated in a non-contact or in a full contact sweater for the last, I think, 4 or 5 practices. And, he's when they're skating, he's been a pretty full participant. So I'd say that he's probably getting close, but I'm not sure if we'll see him tonight or not.
Last one for me. Did Vegas really try to take the puck after the game?
That's what I was told. And that's, I think it's again, the playoffs are just different. Everything is elevated. And for a team like Vegas, they're just trying to get in Utah's head there. And I did see, Lawson Krause was kind of barking at Vegas and barking at the referees. And apparently the referees had to go down the tunnel and retrieve the game puck for the Mammoths because that's the first playoff win at home in team history, and so there's a lot of value in that puck for Utah. I think it's just mind games, Vegas has been known to do those types of things, and so I did not see the referee go down the tunnel to retrieve it, but that's what a lot of other people were saying, and it would not shock me if in fact that did happen.
It's messed up.
That's so Vegas.
That's so vague. Yeah.
I mean, UNLV would stoop to such a level.
That's a classic UNLV move too, for sure.
It's in the city. It's just baked into that.
But the Raiders would never.
No, not Raiders. No,
they would not.
They would, and they would try to sell it back to you, like they do copper wire
in pieces.
Well, the Raiders would have to make the playoffs if they were going to.
That's the point. Yes, Cole.
There you go.
That's what
Cole.
I've come to fix.
Attaboy. Hey, you surprised Edmonton's in the situation they're in?
Yes and no. To have two generational talents and potentially the most skilled player to ever, take the ice in the history of the game and to be trailing Anaheim 3-1 is pretty shocking to me. But I think if you take a step back and you just kind of realize what Edmonton and McDavid have been through over the last 3 years, two deep runs to the Stanley Cup final, losing back-to-back years, he went all the way, to the gold medal game at the Olympics, arguably carried that team. And then he had to carry Edmonton into the playoffs. I mean, they were in a wild card spot and even out of a playoff spot with about, 6 to 8 weeks to go. And, they turned it on. A lot of it was because of the way that he played. And then, he did sustain a lower body injury. I believe it was an ankle injury in game 1. And so, when you look at the details, I think it makes a little bit more sense, but still there is a chance that the Mammoth and the Ducks could be playing in round 2. And I don't think there's a person on this planet that anticipated that would be possible. And if that's what ends up happening, one of those two teams will be going to the conference final.
Let's go.
Which is bonkers, right? Like, if you would have said at the beginning of the year that the Mammoth or the Ducks could be playing for a conference final, again, 100% of people would have said you're an absolute liar. So, but that is the beauty of the Stanley Cup playoffs, the parity and the opportunities that come. It's so unpredictable, and that's what makes it so fun.
I know that Ryan Smith referenced this in his press conference. I've known Jim Olson for a long time. Jim's going to make whatever work because he's that kind of guy, but I don't know if there's a guy with more conflicted feelings going on in right now than Jim Olson.
I mean, yeah, but they're going to get it done. Like, and
oh yeah,
they'll work with it with whatever timeline they're given, and it's the best thing for this organization to go on a deep run. And if they do end up somehow winning this series and facing Anaheim, and if they're able to somehow beat them and go to the conference final, I am certain that they will take that 10 out of 10 times and just live with the results, and they'll find a way.
Yeah,
I mean, what they've done over the last 2 years in terms of upgrading the lower bowl of the Delta Center and building a world-class practice facility, and working on a new Jazz practice facility. Like, it's unbelievable. I don't know how they do it, but they'll get it done.
Cole, you're the best, man. Appreciate it. Enjoy Game 4 tonight. Great coverage, as always, and looking forward to talking about a 3-1 series advantage after this one.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
There he is, Cole Bagley, NHL Mammoth Insider for KSL Sports and KSLSports.com.
We got good hockey people.
We got great hockey
talking
people.
To these hockey folks.
Jay cracks me up. Mike Folta's awesome. Cole can break it down. Nick Olchek. I mean, come on, you can't find a better hockey guy than – I mean, when your name's Nick Olchek, like, there's really nothing else you can do in life than to talk hockey.
Well, when I saw his dad calling the Olympics, I'm like, okay, this guy's got some lineage.
Yeah.
Only thing better would have been Nick Hipcheck.
Cross-check?
Or Nick Crosscheck.
Forecheck?
Or Nick.
You know what you need to do. Do it.
Sorry, buddy, I don't have it here.
Do it.
I don't have it.
I bet if I said that, you would have had me
No,
car
I
crash
don't
so
have it.
fast.
I don't have it here. I'm sorry. I haven't added it to the button bar.
That deserved a car crash.
No, it didn't.
Shame on you. Oh my goodness.
We're getting used to it.
I'm pulling out all the dad jokes now just to make sure that you get that on the button bar. Like I'm going to force you to do it.
He'll be like, dang it, I need to put it on there. There's too many.
All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on Carvana. Delivery fees may apply.